What's up, bitches?
Let's talk about crime.
What's up, bitches?
Hello.
We are here on another great afternoon-ish thing.
No, it's not great because I thought it was supposed to be fucking sunny today.
So
I wore this cute romper. Come out of my nail appointment. It's fucking pissing rain.
Although it's only supposed to rain that little bit
Stupid.
until 5. We're recording this at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So until 5, and then it's sunshine the rest of the week. However,
Hopefully.
Trisha does not really like the sunshine.
I need to get my tan on. My
I
Italian
do not.
needs to come out.
I do not. I burn and my eyes are allergic to the sun. So there's that. That's the fun stuff.
Woo.
So again, if you're new here, I live with my daughter.
In Washington, in case you were wondering why we were like it's raining and fucking sunny all at the same time.
No, I don't actually live with her. We are in the middle of moving and we are in the middle of waiting to get into our new home. And so we have been staying in our travel trailer parked on the side of her home, which isn't even her home. It's actually my parents' home. And my parents are actually world travelers and they're going to be home soon. It's going to be we're going to say world. Okay, every time I say world, even your dad's like, they travel the United States.
U.S. travelers.
But regardless, it's going to be a big ass party here for the next month because there's going to be a whole lot of shit going on. And then at one point in June, my son just graduated from college with his first of 2 degrees. And we are having a graduation party up in this bitch as well. Life is grand. Anyway, so if you're new here, welcome. Welcome to Crime Bitches. It is myself and Sierra. I am Trisha.
I am Sierra.
And we like to talk about true crime. We like to talk about true crime. We like to talk about things in the world. We like to talk about spooky things. And we like to share the stories with you. We are raw, unfiltered, and Sierra has a little bit of a potty mouth, so excuse her.
Whoa, it's not just
her.
me.
Excuse her negative vibes sometimes. Anyway,
I just say what I feel.
I just wanted to say thank you all for being here. And I started thinking about it because on Fatal Blend, which is my other podcast where I talk about strictly serial killers with my husband, I always say, like, if you're new here, this is what we talk about, because I think about it and people might click on it not maybe knowing what we talk about. Crime Bitches, you don't know. And really, for the most,
kind of in the name.
but it's not though, because honestly, the other thing is it's not even Crime Bitches because bitches wasn't even allowed. It's Crime
that's pretty
B.
stupid.
It's Crime B podcast,
Especially because I came up with the name.
So it's kind of whatever. We just have to, because some people thought Crime Bitches. I've heard people say like, "Oh, I thought it was just you talking about girls who do crime." That would have been a good podcast, but no, that's not what this is. Anyways, so we're just going to get right into what we're supposed to be talking about this week. Now, if you are not new here and you are a fellow follower, listener, and you listened to last week's episode, you're welcome. Because this week, we are also talking about Spokane-ish, Washington. Not done on purpose. Actually, we're talking about Colfax, Washington, which is right around the corner from Spokane, Washington. And we're talking about this started in the year 1893.
Oh my God.
Now, we're talking about a spooky place, so it has to be 1893. Now, this is a building that was constructed in 1893, and it's called St. Ignatius Hospital. So that's when it began, is in 1893 in Colfax, Washington, and this hospital today has many claims of being haunted. So a little bit of background on the hospital. So it was built in 1893 by the Sisters of Providence. By the way, if anybody doesn't know yet, Sierra went to school in South Dakota, and she went to a school that was ran and by nuns. And so she's going to really get a kick out of this story because
they didn't wear the nunneries.
It's not a nunnery. It's called a habit. And they did live there. But you're going to get a kick out of this hospital because I literally felt like this was your school in the making. That's what I felt like. I'm not.
Oh, and it's haunted. That's nice.
It's not even a lie. So the building was the original brick building was completed in 1894. So they took about 1 year to create this building. And the locals of the area make claims that this hospital at the time was the best possible care facility in the Pacific Northwest. Now, during the first 18 months of its opening, the hospital saw about 145 patients. So that's That's pretty good considering Colfax is not a very big town. Now, by 1908, the hospital has now become financially self-sufficient. So what this means is that the hospital was able to function entirely on its own. Yeah, using its own funding, not taking money from people, not taking donations from people, which is really good. That means that it's working. Yeah, that's success. Now, in 1911, they had their very first class of nurses graduate from the St. Ignatius School of Nursing. And this was located at the hospital. This is where it was. Now, you know why? See, that's why I feel like it was like Sierra's school, because her school also was a school of nursing.
Yeah, like our number one degree. The school was known for its nursing.
It started
degree.
out as a school of nursing, and so very much so, like the sisters of, I don't know who the fuck the sisters were that ran your school. They definitely weren't the sisters of presentation, but I don't think that was who they were. But same type of scenario where you had this school that had really, honestly, top-notch facilities, and they turned it into a school that would teach. Because I don't know if anybody's ever seen
The Sisters of the Presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary are a Catholic religious order founded by Nano Nagel.
Okay, well that's
Ireland.
That was who ran Sierra's school, her college.
Miss Nano, I remember her.
Now,
well, I don't remember her, but
I will say that if you've ever seen Call the Midwife, if anybody's ever seen that, this is why back in the early 1800s, most hospitals were actually donated religiously. They were built by with a religious background. This is why nuns were nurses. Nuns would be trained to be nurses, and then they would open up hospitals, and the nuns would do it. Well, then as time progressed, they need more nurses, and they opened up this nursing school. So there you go. The more you know. Now, as the years progress, they do continue to save money and raise money to add to the hospital. So they end up installing an elevator, which, by the way, just so everybody knows this, they didn't have an elevator. This building was 5 stories with no elevator.
Oh, that sucks.
They also built a laundry room. They built an entire east wing. So they added on a whole entire east wing. They also added a chapel. Now, the hospital served a lot of patients. So the first floor specifically was for emergencies. It was like an emergency room. However, when you would go into the emergency room, they had the emergency room separated by severity. So if you would go to the right wing, that was for those who were likely to survive whatever they came into the emergency room for. They would send them to the right. The people that would be sent to the left were those that pretty much would come in and they knew they were not going to leave, and they died there. So much so that they actually had an elevator installed that took them directly down to the morgue. So the morgue was right underneath the left wing of the emergency hospital. Then the second and third floors were for patients. They were different patient rooms, like I think the second floor for a while had obstetrics, or like where you'd have babies. And then the third floor was for more like just inpatient care. The fourth floor was for the surgical department and like x-rays and that kind of stuff. And then the fifth floor was the living quarters for the sisters and the nurses. See, it's just like presentation. See, it's just like Sierra's college because the nuns lived there. It was a thing. It was a whole thing. Now, in 1918, the hospital does dedicate the entire third floor to the patients of the Spanish flu, the influenza, and many people did die there. Now, in 1928, they now expand the hospital again. Now, this time they added a west wing to the hospital, and they also built a separate heating plant to help the hospital because of how large the hospital has now become. To my knowledge, it's about 50,000 square feet. So that's a big ass hospital. Now, in 1929, the main kitchen in the hospital was expanded and they added refrigeration capabilities. So they're just every couple of years, they're adding things, modernizing it. Yeah, they were just trying to maintain the fact that they were a hospital that had the best possible care, and they continue to add to it. So again, as they are doing this, here we are in 1929. They opened in 1894, and they are, again, adding capabilities and doing all these things. Now, in 1964, the hospital is now told by the health department that they are going to have to close the hospital unless they do a complete remodel of the entire facility because of how old it had gotten. And so in November of 1968, they actually built a whole entire new hospital in a new building. And they had secured the funding for it. So they were like, okay, Okay, cool. We'll just build, instead of remodeling this building, we're just going to build a whole new hospital. So that's what they did. And they officially dedicate this hospital as the Whitman County Hospital. Now, once the community hospital opens, they close down St. Ignatius. Now, I'm going to tell you something that's real fucked up. Real fucked up. Why did I say? I said they were told by the health department that they could not continue to function as a hospital or unless they redid the whole entire fucking building. Right? However, the health department had no problem with them using the St. Ignatius Hospital as a fucking assisted living facility until the year 2000, actually. So they had no problem allowing the building to remain standing and have assisted living facilities. So some people that live there, pretty much all of them, they are normally older people who most likely are retired, but they need help living. Kind of like a fucking hospital. They just didn't need as much of the bells and whistles as hospitals do. But I find it very weird that that was the trade-off. You guys have to remodel the whole building or we're going to shut the doors as a hospital. Oh, wait, you built a new one? Okay, you can use it for an assisted living facility. So it obviously wasn't like a dangerous place. But anyway, so it does get moved over to an assisted living facility until the year 2000. So from 1968 till the year 2000, it was used as an assisted living facility. Now, in 2003, they officially closed the property and it is left abandoned. And throughout the years, the county would come in and say, we need to just demolish this building. It's sitting abandoned. It's ugly, it's overgrown, whatever. And people continued to fight like, no, this is a historical piece of Colfax. Like, we're not tearing it down. They do end up being able to secure like a historical standing for it. And in 2015, from 2015 to 2016, so for about 1 year, the hospital actually gets reopened for public tours by the county, by the Chamber of Commerce of Colfax. And they basically reopened it because there had been claims that it was haunted and people were interested in it. They wanted to see. I mean, this has a huge history with Colfax. Like I said, it's not a huge place. So it's like, this is a good little like keystone to bring people into your community. However, it is said that they only kept it open for that little short time because there were some issues with the guests who supposedly were being attacked while they were inside this facility. There were also some tour guides that would run out of the building out of fear and refuse to go back in. And so they were like, yeah, maybe this isn't going to work. So they shut it down. Now in 2021, the hospital is purchased again. And it is said that the new owners purchased it because they wanted to partially renovate it so that they can once again offer some tours, which is what they did. So why is it haunted? Well, the first patient to die in the hospital's name was F.E. Martin. Now, F.E. Martin was a local railroad employee, and he had been crushed between two railroad cars at the railroad yard, at the rail yard. I don't know what you call it. So he was brought into the hospital, and he did die from his injuries shortly after being at the hospital. Now, some have claimed to see an apparition of a mangled and disfigured man walking through the halls of the hospital, and they do say that he is extremely scary looking, but he is extremely harmless. Like, he doesn't bother you, but you can see him and he's very mangled and he's very disfigured. That's enough to say, no, thank you. Now, it's also said that there is a large angry mass that can be seen in the hospital. Now, claims have even been made that this mass, which is said to resemble a swarm of bees. Okay, that's literally the description. Is people are like, you look at it, you're like, that kind of looks like a swarm of bees. So if you try to approach the mass, it'll attack you and it'll chase you. And it literally rushes at you. And people have said that many people have experienced apparently this large mass of like scariness, or like charging them, and they fucking run as fast as they can because it's so scary. Now there's also Michael. Now Michael is said to be the strongest ghost in the hospital, and he would be located in room 312. Now, when Michael was alive, he was a man who had a very nasty temper. He was not a very nice man. And it is also known that he will rush at the visitors when they come into his room. He will rush at them and try to scare them out of the room. This room in the building is also the only room that has been seen to have a ton of flies in it. Out of all of them. None of the other rooms have this. And I'm going to tell you, I did do all the research on this, and then I did watch an episode that actually your brother recommended. It's one of his favorite ghost hunter people. And it's Shane and Ryan. They do a YouTube channel. And the thing that I like about it is Shane. I think it's Shane. I don't remember. It's Shane and Ryan. One of them does not believe in ghosts. He tries to debunk everything. He comes up with reasons why things are happening. And then the other person is a big believer in ghosts. So that's why I liked watching it, because it's like you have the one guy who's freaked out by everything. And then you have the other guy that's like, oh, come on, the wind was blowing. Like, you know what I mean? So I watched that, and they did go into room 312. And they talked about room 312, and they talked about the flies. So Shane, who's the non-believer, he actually walked around the facility or around the room because he was like, oh, I heard there were flies. Now, one of the things that they did mention was that flies oftentimes are represented in scary movies as demons. And like, that's not fun.
Yeah. I've seen Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah. So they were talking about how that's like a fly thing. So he walked around the room, and by the way, it's pitch dark in here. So he walks around the room and he finds a fuck ton of dead flies in this room. Dead flies, which I'm like, why what's killing? So that was kind of scary, and no flies in other rooms, by the way. So that's true. Now so that's Michael. Then there's Rosemary. Now, Rosemary actually lived at St. Ignatius when it was an assisted living facility, and she was suffering from dementia and had some mental health issues, and she was always unhappy. Now, she is known to knock on walls, and she also has been known to push people while they are in her room. And I found out through Shane and Ryan, she also loves Coors beer. And so people will go into her room, drink a Coors, and leave her the cans. Or some people will pop it open and leave the beer for her, because that was known to be her drink of choice. So you get to see that. Now, there was one local woman who actually was the manager of the house for a long time. And she said that she had encountered many times full-on conversations in the building when nobody else was there. So she would be inside the building doing stuff, and there would be nobody there, and she would fully hear people talking. She also has seen dark shadows going up and down the halls. And she said there was one time in particular where she was walking. They were doing a tour, and she was walking, and she was behind her people, and she was kicked in the back of her foot. And she actually thought it was the other tour guide. And so she had yelled back like, hey, or no, I'm sorry. She thought that she had tripped on something. And then she was like, or maybe I tripped on the tour guide's foot. So she said I was going to holler back to be like, hey, something's tripped me over here. And she said, and I yelled out, hey, and the other tour guide was so far away, there's no way it could have been him. And she was the only one there. So she talks about that. Now, there have also been people who have been interested in buying the property prior to these newer owners that bought it. But every time something mysteriously would happen to like make the deal fall through, almost as if the house was picking who was going to be the next owners, almost as if the house wanted it to be somebody who was going to come in and renovate because other people had other plans for it. And it was like every time the shit would just fall through. There have been also reports of hearing children's voices, because there is like a children's area in the hospital. Children's voices. One time in particular, there was a child voice heard talking to an adult voice. But it was also during a time when nobody else was in the building, and they were in the kitchen area of the hospital. So it sounded like a child talking to an adult. There have also been many reports, sounds of footsteps. Again, when nobody is there, it's like one person is in there doing something and they hear footsteps. Doors have been known to slam shut on their own. Sounds of what can only be described as a group of people walking quickly down the staircase and then walking out and realizing there's literally nobody there. One of the manager, she had said that she was there with her child, with her kid, and they were doing a tour, and she said that they were in this one room, and she heard literal like running down the stairs, so much so that she ran out because she thought somebody had broken into the building, and there was nobody there. Then there have also been multiple claims of being touched, people being touched while they're in this facility. Now, ghost investigators have also captured EVP, and if you know what that is, that's electronic voice phenomena. It has unexplained voices and sounds. One time, an EVP caught what sounded like somebody saying, "Rosie, are you here?" with a response in a softer, different tone that said, "I'm here." And then some of the floors of the building are said to create a strong sense of discomfort and unwelcomeness, I would say, to the people visiting. And those floors just happen to be the floors that the nuns lived on.
So they're the demons.
But here's the thing. Ryan from the Shane and Ryan show, right? He made a good point. He said, nun ghosts are the scariest because if you spent your entire life committed to God, why the fuck didn't you pass over? I said, holy shit, that makes so much. Yes, you're right. If you are a nun, you do. You give yourself to God. That's like a one-way ticket into heaven, my friend. So if you did not cross over, why? And you would be probably the most angry fucking ghost because you did what you thought you were supposed to do and you didn't make it. Yeah, I can see. And so, yeah, I could see maybe they were not very welcoming of people coming into their humble abode. So take that for what you will. Because when he said that, I was like, holy yeah. No wonder why the places where the nuns lived are the scariest. Because if none of the nuns that are left behind, I don't know. There was another team of ghost investigators that had actually gone. They have pictures and videos and all this stuff. And these can be actually found on the website. So they went to room 310, which is Rose's room, which I think is Rosemary's room, by the way. I think Rose is Rosemary. There and in that room, of course, you can always hear voices and things. Now they did hear voices, but they couldn't make out what was actually being said. But they had the EVP and they could tell like some sounds were coming, but they couldn't figure out what exactly was being said. In the basement, which I don't, why? I'm not going in. The basement's where the fucking morgue was. Why are you even going in there? So in the basement, one of the people in the group said that they felt a presence that somebody was following them, which that's, for me, I'm like, I could say that. I could be like, I think I feel something, right? Like the team of investigators also found that in the nuns' living quarters, some felt that they had been followed by something. Not just one person, but multiple of them felt like something was following them. They also saw a shadowy figure. And they also, a couple of them had the feeling that somebody or something had rushed past them. Like, you know how you get that feeling when somebody runs past you, like either the cold breeze or they brush your shoulder. Like they got that feeling while they were standing in where the nuns had lived. The team also investigated the basement. While they were in there, they were trying to communicate with a child. That's creepy as fuck anyways. And so while they were trying to communicate with this child, they had what is called a spirit candle. Now, my assumption is the spirit candle is actually battery operated because it turned on and off. It wasn't like kind of like, I guess actually now that I said that, I realize now they kind of use the same thing. So when I was watching the episode with Shane and Ryan, they also had what would be a spirit candle. It's basically a mag flashlight that apparently if you lay it on its side, there's like something about it that turns it into a touch sensor, right? So if you turn it sideways and lay it down, you communicate with the ghost and then the ghost can turn it on and off. Well, the Ryan and Shane, they said the problem with that is those also will flicker. The light, the flashlights will flicker on their own. So they said it can't be like, oh, it turned off and on. They said it's got to be like you say, touch the flashlight or touch the light, turn it off, turn it on. And then if it does turn off and turn on when you're saying that, that's the communication that you'd be looking for, right? See, again, why I like them, because they weren't like, oh, because they did actually have this happen in the episode with Rosemary. As a matter of fact, they were in her room and they put a flashlight on the TV and it did turn on and it did turn off when they told it, when they said like, hey, if you're here, turn it on. And it does turn on and it stayed on. And then it was on for a while. And they're like, if you're here, turn it off. If you want us to leave the room, turn it off. And it turned off. So they had been using the same type of thing these investigators did to try to communicate with the child. And that also would be that child that they communicated with also apparently turned on and off the flashlight. And none of them were close enough to be doing anything to the flashlight. So, and supposedly it wasn't the flickering. It was like turned off and on when they told the child to touch it. Now they also heard footprints following them throughout the whole entire hospital. And it was just them in the hospital. Now in the kitchen, their spirit candle would also continue to trigger, turning off and on. And they would also hear whispers while they were in the kitchen area. Now there have also been claims of being pushed, hit, and scratched. You lost me there. During tours, not by them, by other people. In their specific incident, one of the people in their group had a handprint, and there's a picture of it on the inside of her arm from nobody. She didn't feel the handprint. It just happened to be there when they came out of the building. She saw it, and they have a picture of it. Some people have also reported hearing growling in their ears, and they have watched figures like slowly slunk backwards out of a room. Almost, it looks like they're kind of like, like creepy. I don't know. Now, one investigator did catch on an EVP something was happening to where this investigator started to pray the rosary on the rosary. The rosary started to pray on the rosary while they're in this building, and an EVP recorded the sounds of "Stop that! Stop it! Stop what you're doing now." I know. That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, you just pissed off the nun.
That sounds like something a nun would say.
I know. Fucking ruling your knuckles.
I was just going to say that.
And by the way, rulering your knuckles is a real thing, because my dad went to Catholic school, and he most definitely got a ruler across his knuckles when he was a kid.
Dude, one of my old coworkers who is like, I don't know, maybe 4 years older than me, when she lived in Mexico, because that's where she was born. She went to a Catholic school, and they still did that.
Yeah, they're just strict as shit. So here's the thing with this whole entire thing. I'm going to give you a little insight into what you would expect if you were to go to this building. So the interior of the building has no lights. None. And it's dark all the time because pretty much all the windows are boarded up. So there's that. It's also very cold in the building, so you can't gauge the whole like, oh, it's cold because of ghosts. The owners themselves have said, no, like bring clothes, bring like layers of clothing. It is cold because it's boarded up. There's no heat. There's no lights. It's like cold in there. And it's a lot of the tours happen at night. So, it's going to be cold. So don't go in there and go, oh, it's so cold in here, there's ghosts. That's not it. That's what they even said. And overall, this place just sounds creepy as fuck. I'm not going to lie. So here's the thing. You are more than welcome to tour this facility. These people have opened it up for public tours. It's not like any other place that we've seen before. It's not like Winchester Mystery House or Alcatraz where you go, there's a ticket booth, you buy your tickets, security guards. Yeah, it's not like that. Nope. So you can go on tours of this facility, but you have to book your tour in advance. You cannot show up and buy tickets. They do not sell them there. It's a guided tour. So you do not go through the place by yourself. And their guided tours are typically done in very small groups, like no more than 15. Like they'll bring no more than 15 people in to do our tour. And I'm stressing, you have to make your reservations in advance. So you have to go online, purchase your time slot and your tickets, and then, show up. It says on their website that they also would prefer that nobody under the age of 14 go through the tours. So there's that. You have to sign a waiver. You have to sign a waiver to go on their tours. I'll tell you right now, I've been to Alcatraz and the Winchester Mystery House. I did not sign a waiver. You have to sign a waiver, basically saying that if something happens to you, it's not their fault. Once you're inside, first of all, don't be late. Don't show up late, not even 5 minutes late. Because once you're in the building, they lock the doors. If you miss your time slot, you don't get to go. And if you're inside, you can't get out till the tour's over. So there's that. So they do offer day tours. Like you can go in the daytime, but it still feels like nighttime inside because most of the, it's all boarded up. They have a 2-hour ghost hunt tour. They have a 3-hour guided night tour where you can go at night. They have 4-hour tours if you'd like to spend 4 hours. They also have the candlelight tours. And the candlelight tours are like at 11:45 at night till 1:45 in the morning. Look at I so wish we had video because Sierra's face right now.
Dude, you lost me once you said they lock you in the
That's
fucking
what your brother said.
The waiver thing, like fine. Like I could understand that really at any of the haunted places because I'm sure there's also a waiver that's like this place probably shouldn't be a standing building.
No, it is
kind of situation too.
No, because I will tell you, when the couple bought the house, they had inspectors come in, and they've actually made it to where the tour only goes in the places that are considered safe, right? So you're not going into,
though.
but there are certain places you're not allowed to go in the building just because they haven't either.
Well, but I'm sure they also have a waiver that says, like, if you're a dumb fuck and go into a
right
your
brother said the same thing. Your brother straight looked at
fine.
No, your brother straight looked at me and he goes,
locking you in.
He
that's
said,
kind of extreme.
I don't understand why they would lock somebody in.
Yeah,
but it's not. I don't think they're locking you in. I mean, they're locking the doors because it says it very clearly on their website. Doors will be locked when the tour starts, so don't be late. But what they're doing is, I think they're trying to keep people out because, again, there's no security.
Or the spirit's in.
Well, or the spirit's in. Or, maybe they're doing it because if something happens to somebody, they can just be like, oh, well, I don't know. No, I really think it's because they don't want people breaking in. And, because this building was sitting empty for so long, people know how to get into these buildings. So they've boarded it completely up, and it would be more dangerous and more irresponsible, I think, if you were bringing people, 10 to 15 people on a tour. And then if you leave the doors unlocked, anybody can come in at any time, cause havoc, hurt people, or just like, they didn't pay for the tour, so also they're getting a free tour. You know what I mean? So I get the concept because, again, they don't have it's not a huge facility thing. Like, you meet the owners or like one of the tour guides, who, by the way, the tour guides are local people that are volunteers. Okay. They're not paid. They don't make a bunch of money off this. They're taking the money from the tickets to help start like renovating because they want to, turn they want to put the hospital to make it look like what it used to, so they can do bigger tours and stuff like that. But they just acquired this home like 5 years ago, or this hospital like 5 years ago. And so I think it's for their protection as well as everybody else's. But you're not wrong. That's because I'm like, well, what if you're really scared? You're fucking you're just dead. You just stay in there dead. Like, what the fuck? So the real question is,
nope.
Would you go to St. Ignatius Hospital for a tour?
Nope.
Okay, so I don't think
it's the locked me in part.
I was gonna say I don't think I can muster up the courage to do this one. It's the locking the doors for me. It's the scratches and the scary ass ghostly figures chasing you. It's also the fact that the owners have actually said, and I quote, "We are not a haunted house. You can go to Palouse for that. We have real ghosts."
Oh yeah, because that makes me feel so much better.
Which also, most of the time, people who own haunted things, they don't admit to having real ghosts. They don't admit to it. They just say like, well, we think it's haunted. Now, as always, in the show notes, I will have a link to their website where you can book tours. Okay. So, I will make sure that in the website, there is, the link is going to be there so that at any point, if you feel that you would like to go visit St. Ignatius Hospital in Colfax, Washington, you can just click on that link and it'll bring you to their website where you can go ahead and book your tours. And like I said, make sure you book them in advance because you're not walking into the facility. However, I'm going to say, I watched the whole entire 1 hour episode of Shane and Ryan. And I have to tell you something that I saw, because I am a believer in ghosts, kind of. Like, I'm scared of demons for sure. But ghosts and haunted houses, they scare the shit out of me. But like also, other than the Alcatraz ghost, I don't think I really could, whatever. So again, the Shane and Ryan, they have a YouTube channel. If you are really into ghostly stuff, I do think you should look them up because they really, truly, they do a good job. So they went into the facility, again, no lights. So they had their flashlights and then they had like night vision too, so you could see things. So one of the things that people do, apparently, not only do they leave Rosemary some cores, okay, but they also like to leave dolls in one of the rooms. Okay, so here's the thing. They walked into this room and the doll from Goosebumps? The doll from Goosebumps? Yeah. So he's there. Okay, he's there and he's sitting like on the radiator in like the corner of this room. Now, Shane, because he's a non-believer, what do you think Shane does? Oh, he just walks in and rips the head off the doll. Okay. And he like rips it off and he's like, they have videos that they set up. They have cameras they set up throughout the building so they can watch each other because they explore together and then they went separately. And one sits and watches the cameras, which are all infrared. And then the other one goes and explores and then they switch and they have like headphones and stuff, but they can't hear each other or they can't hear what's going on the TV, the monitors. And so he takes this head And he's like dangling it in the air. And then he walks up to one of the cameras and he puts the head, up to the camera. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, because that fucking dummy doll scares the shit out of me. Not as bad as Lizzie Borden's doll, but still pretty scary. And then he is told, like, okay, your time's up, come back. So he goes, puts the doll head back onto the doll body and walks out. But when he puts it on, it's like crooked now because he ripped the head off the doll. And I mean, he ripped the head off the doll. I watched him do it. And then it's Ryan's turn. Ryan's exploring and they're doing all these things. And Ryan goes into the same room that had the dolls. And he went to go grab the doll head as well. But tell me why he grabbed the doll head and it was reattached. Like he went to pick it up and that shit was fully reattached and he had to rip the doll head off as well. I watched that happen. And like I said, they even slow-mo'd it because he even said, like, I'm pretty sure he ripped the head off this doll, so I don't understand. And they slow-mo'd it. And when he pulls the doll head up, you can see that the doll head is sewn in both of them. So I was kind of freaked out by that. They were kind of freaked out by that because they don't understand. And even Shane, who's like a naysayer, was like, well, that's fucking strange because I definitely know that I saw that. And then they did use EVP, type things throughout the area. And there were a couple of times that they heard some sounds. They had some, what they were calling communications with ghosts, which I don't really know how that works because the thing they had, it was like it took noises and the noises would turn it into words. So I don't really know how much I believe about that, but in this, thing, the voices that they were hearing or the sounds they were hearing were translated a lot to calling them nerds. And they are very nerdy, to be fair. They are very nerdy. But overall, I will say this. I watched that and they also talked about a lot of the same things that I talked about, but I watched that and then I looked at my son and I was like, so would you go? Would you go? Because my son is a huge ghost person. He actually is the one who gave this to me as a ghost adventure. And he said, well, I was going to until you told me they locked me in. And then I said, well, it's in Washington. You and your sister can go whenever y'all want to. And he said, no, I don't think I will. And so the fact that my ghostly loving son who has ghost books of different towns that have ghostly shit doesn't want to go, that is like to me the cue. I definitely don't want to do this thing. So point is, in the beginning I was not afraid. I was like, oh, this is really it's creepy. But the more that I read, especially with the unexplained slaps and the unexplained handprints and scratches, and then on top of it to know that you're going on tours, that you're locked in, like what if that big swarm of bees mass thing is chasing you and you can't get out the building because it's locked? Like that's just like
SOL.
That's why you sign your life away when you go on these tours. So anyways, if you are somebody who would like to do that tour, like I said, in our show notes, the very first line you're going to see is going to say something along the lines of, check out St. Ignatius Hospital here. And you click on that link and it'll bring you there. You can do it yourself. And let me tell you, the tours range from all different prices and all different times. So you would have to just go on and figure it out. But yeah, so that's the story of St. Ignatius Hospital and why it's a haunted, scary facility in Colfax, Washington. So if you like the things that you hear, and if you like listening to us talk about things, whether it be true crime or spooky things, make sure you're following us. And if you are following us and you know anybody that you think would like to hear our beautiful voices tell you these stories, then go ahead and share it with them. And then that way we can just keep on doing the damn thing. Other than that, I don't really have much else to say other than thank you for listening to us talk about St. Ignatius Hospital, the haunted hospital that locks you in for your tours and you have to sign a waiver and hope you make it out alive. Until next week, catch you on the flip side, bitches.
Bye, bitches.